This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Welcome back to another Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. At this time, normally slotted in, we would be doing ourselves an Edmonton Oilers game review. However, my friends, today it is, well, more or less just finally. I mean, how many times do you need it to be confirmed until it's confirmed? And the score this afternoon, totally relevant to the discussion that needs to be had coming out of today's game. It's a 6-2 final for the Dallas Stars, in case you're wondering. But that has absolutely no bearing on the discussion that needs to be had, simply put, in today's video. Folks, before we get into things, I want you to take the next 5-10 minutes, whatever you need to do the task. Consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. I'd love to have you along for the ride this season. It's a long one. We're only 14 games in, or 12 games in, or something like that. Who knows? It's time's getting to be irrelevant. We're at that part of the season. No, I'm kidding aside. Simply put, is the Oilers have themselves a big problem, but I don't want you to look at it of I'm sounding the alarm. It's just a matter of simple fixes make simple problems go away. And that is where today's video starts off with a big shouty title. Edmonton Oilers have a huge problem. And they do. They quite simply do, and this is something they can easily solve, and I've talked about quite heavily in the past 5-6 games. However, as it currently stands, you can't do that the way the Oilers are doing things right now. And the huge problem the Oilers have is not Jack Campbell. Everybody has kind of seemed that I've been out for Jack Campbell. It's not that I hate Jack Campbell. I prefer Stuart Skinner currently over Jack Campbell. That is the quote I want you to quote me on if you are using me in some kind of verbal argument with a friend, if you're using me on Twitter, if you whatever you're doing, the words out of my mouth, I want you to use that. I prefer Stuart Skinner over Jack Campbell currently. And that's right. Is he the starter now? It's not is he the starter? Is he the starter now? Right? We're talking in this moment. And that is, of course, you can talk about the 4-3 loss to the Devils. I did not watch the game. I don't have an opinion, so I can't slam nor praise Stuart Skinner for that game against the Devils. All right? But back to that huge problem the Edmonton Oilers have currently. The Oilers have a huge problem, not in Jack Campbell, but in the fact of how the team plays a hockey game in front of Jack Campbell. And now to enlighten the argument a little bit more in favor of Stuart Skinner is obviously there has been a great discussion over the past 5-6 games about how much different this Oilers team looks in front of Jack Campbell versus how much different they look in front of Stuart Skinner. And when you have two different teams playing in front of two different goaltenders, you've got a huge issue. And that is where I'm going with this. I'm not sounding the alarms that the Oilers season is doomed. No. What I am saying, simply put, is that right now you cannot afford to have the Oilers team that is playing in front of Jack Campbell playing the majority of games. And this is, again, not Jack Campbell's fault, but it is simple metrics of you want to play winning hockey. And the Oilers are only playing winning hockey currently to the best of their ability in front of Stuart Skinner, in my opinion. That's what I'm thinking, right? What we've seen over the past 5 Jack Campbell starts is the Oilers have won hockey games with Jack Campbell in net, sure, but they are not playing winning hockey, right? We talk about this team winning the Stanley Cup potentially this season. The way they play in front of Jack Campbell, win, lose, otherwise, is not the brand of hockey that wins you Stanley Cups. It's the brand of hockey we've been treated to in front of Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen for years prior. However, as if you look at the analytics guys on Twitter, if you look at anything that kind of shows shot charts, is the Oilers suddenly, with Stuart Skinner in net, lock it down and clean up the middle quite heavily, right? They aren't allowing those high danger chances against with Stuart Skinner in net as much as they are with Jack Campbell. And to a degree, to the crowd that's arguing that Jack Campbell needs to be fired into the sun, I do have something to say on that front. Simply put, Jack Campbell The old adage with Oilers goaltending last year with Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith was they don't make the save when you need them to make the save. And this game against Dallas, we watched Jack Campbell miss a ton of pucks where he needed to make a save. And that's not exactly his fault because obviously it translates to how the team's playing. But when your team coughs up a bad chance against, at some point your team needs you to make that save. And at current, Jack Campbell is not capable of doing that. So you look at 2 strikes in the column right now, one on Jack Campbell's side and one on the Edmonton Oilers' big side of the game in terms of what every other player on the ice other than Jack Campbell is doing. The Oilers are not getting winning brands of hockey out of Jack Campbell's starts currently. Why the Oilers did not turn to Stuart Skinner in the third period, that is another question that I hope Mr. Jay Woodcroft will be able to answer for us in the post game this evening. However, as it currently stands, it's neither here nor there. You lose 6-2, and the huge problem persists at current. And this is again, it's a long season. I told you that off the first 45 seconds of the video. Is yes, it's game 12, right? You do not need to sound the panic alarms. Heck, we were out of the playoffs around the time we fired Dave Tippett last year. So, again, play with me a little bit here. This is a long season. There's always time to make it up as long as you sniff around the edges. And for the Oilers, you're far from out of it just because you've lost a couple bad games in the past couple of games. That's not a problem. Again, sleepy Saturday afternoon. We knew this result was coming. That's fine. It's whatever. It's a mental block at Rogers Place. Physically impossible for the Oilers to do anything about it. Cool. Fine by me. As long as we win 95% of the time elsewhere. Good with me. All right. Now, you look at this here, my friends. It is. The huge problem persists, and the Oilers have to solve it. And the only way to solve taking the team that plays in front of Jack Campbell off the ice is by playing Stuart Skinner. You can't bench everybody on the Oilers and throw out a whole new roster in front of Jack Campbell and solve the problem. But you can bench Jack Campbell, throw out Stuart Skinner, and suddenly that team in front of Stuart Skinner is completely different than the team you see in front of Jack Campbell. You can say what you want about anything when it comes to hockey, but honestly, right, is the eye test is always going to tell you something. Whether it tells you the whole story, part of the story, or barely anything of the story, on this one, the eye test tells you very clearly that the Oilers are a completely different team with Stuart Skinner in net. So, common sense, winning hockey dictates you play Stuart Skinner moving forward. I don't see how anyone can argue that. And that is by no means blaming Jack Campbell for what's happened. Right? The team does not want to play winning hockey in front of him. That's not his fault. But unfortunately, as the goaltender, you have to fall on that sword at current. Right? We could be talking. Right? Last year, we were talking about firing Mike Smith into the sun this time last year because he couldn't stay healthy, and he led us to the Western Conference Finals. So it's a long season. There's plenty of time for Jack Campbell to start having a team play in front of him that wants to help him win. But at current, the only way the Oilers can play a winning brand of hockey is with Stuart Skinner in net. Folks, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. The Oilers have a huge problem, but it's a simple fix. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm up on out of here.